Hi everyone. I thought I would do a 12 months update. It's actually been 12 months that I've been on HRT now, which is absolutely crazy. It's gone ridiculously fast. And yeah, there have definitely been some noticeable differences. Um, Actually, I just noticed in the camera. Yes, you can indeed see. Yeah, there's one of the differences. So yeah, what I've done for this one, because there's probably a few things to cover. I've actually made a couple of notes, so I'll be sort of looking at my phone on occasion doing this. So yeah, starting with what medication I'm currently on. So obviously, since it's HRT, since starting, a couple of things have changed, but currently the dose that I'm on is grabbing the phone now for this bit. Is it's a estradiol, which I'm taking both 100 micrograms even and 50 milligrams. Those are as patches now. So it started off as a gel. Gels became quite difficult to find. So they moved me on to patches, and those are being, well, they're doing their job. They're working great. It also means that I only have to change them twice a week. One of the things I learn as well, I thought the idea was to try and get sort of quite a standard level of estrogen going through. That's not the case. The idea is you do actually want to have ups and downs and cycles. So what we do is change both the patches at the same time, and that's just twice a week. So in my case, it's Tuesdays and Fridays. So that just makes it so it's nice and easy. You can work out when you're putting what on. And what I've found works quite well is just having it so it's just beneath where the belly button is. That seems to work quite nicely. It's out of the way of pretty much everything that I wear, because they sort of advise not having it directly on any of your clothing lines or anything like that where you've got elastic maybe holding something in. But yeah, seems to work quite nicely. Still taking the finasteride just to reduce my testosterone a bit. I'll come more into that later, but didn't really want to sort of really reduce it too far for obvious reasons. Still want to have certain bits working as I'm married, so we still have fun and that side of things. But that I've talked about a little bit in videos beforehand, so I'm not going to sort of go into that. But suffice to say, it all works quite well. The other thing I'm taking as well is, I have to read how this pronounces, progesterone. Basically, it's progesterone. So I'm now taking progesterone as well. And the idea is that helps the estrogen sort of kick in a little bit better. And it's worked. The estrogen levels are sort of in the 400s. Testosterone is about sort of 1.6, I think, now. So sort of brought the testosterone, so there's still some there, but it's pushed the estrogen further up and seems to be working quite nicely. Mentioned about sort of how to take medication. That was one of the things that was a bit of a surprise. That came around from the blood tests. Basically, my blood tests were showing the estrogen levels weren't quite as high as I'd like them. I've recently had a blood test. We'll see what Gender GP suggests from there onwards, whether they wanted to up it, whether they're happy with the level. We will see. It's been interesting as well, because with that, timing of when you have your blood taken as well is quite an element. When you actually change your patch of the estrogen, obviously your the estrogen has gone down a bit, because obviously patches only last so long. But it takes a little while for those estrogen levels to go back up, about a day really, to sort of the level you'd like them to be. So when you're having a blood test, have it the day after you've actually changed your patches, and then that gives them a chance to work out what the maximum level is that your estrogen is going to. That's the figure they're really interested in. That was never explained to me beforehand, but now I know, and sort of thought it might be useful to pass the knowledge on to you. Also, saying about blood tests, I'm going to show you this because it looks yeesh and so on, but just in case you see, you could probably see a little bit of bruising that's there. It's not looking quite so bad, but on my profile you could see there was some really bad bruising. Basically, the phlebotomist messed up the blood test a little bit. That plus with having a higher estrogen level, apparently I think it's your collagens are reduced a little bit, so that means you can bruise a little tiny bit easier. I'm also a migraine sufferer as well, so I was taking one of the triptan families with that, which also the way that works is it opens up the blood vessels, so everything all together, including the fact that I was wearing a coat that was slightly too tight for after having a blood test. That ended up giving all these lines and the most ridiculous bruising pattern ever, which worried the hell out of us and definitely caused some curiosity on the internet. Um, but no, so basically it was just like a perfect storm of sort of lots of different things. But it's all working fine now. It's going down, cold compress, things like that, and so on. But it's worth noting when you have the blood test as well, make sure you're wearing something really loose afterwards, and just hope they don't bodge it up in the first place. Yeah, I did sort of feel I was messed around a little bit and so on with that. So yeah, my testosterone, the last blood test I had, it was 8.6. It's now down to sort of about 1.6. So yeah, that's all working nicely. There's that little bit there, so things still work. I've still got a little bit of energy and so on. As I've heard, having spoken to other trans girls, they've said where the fact they've really reduced the testosterone a lot, and they've found they've had like no energy at all. So yeah, that was quite interesting to find that. Changes that I've found sort of in the sort of last sort of 3 to sort of 12 months and sort of 9 to 12 months, definitely become a lot more, I would describe it as emotionally intelligent. I think I'm sort of twigging on people's emotions a bit more. I've always been a bit empathic anyway, and that has now sort of magnified a little bit. And my god, yeah, I've watched some programs on TV, films and series and so on, being in absolute tears. Yeah, the emotions come in. There's both ways though. It's like tears as well as the joy and so on. I just describe it as like it going from, with having the HRT, I describe it as it's like that volume level has just been turned up a bit. So like everything, you do feel a little bit more, bit happiness, sadness. Yeah, it definitely amplifies everything, which can also be very nice as well. So yeah, it's been fascinating with how some of those bits have come on. The other thing I'll say as well, a lot of folks I've spoken to as well have talked about having a lot of pain in the boobs as they've been growing. I haven't purposely noticed that. I've had aches, definitely had aches, and if somebody just sort of grabs your boobs, yeah, you can feel it. Definitely, it can hurt a little bit. So yeah, any blokes out there, yeah, don't grab boobs. It's not nice. It's not a good thing to do. But on the other side, though, things can be a lot more sensitive now, and yeah, it's definitely enjoying them without a doubt. Couple little bits of advice I'd like to give folks as well. Again, this is just only from a year's worth of transitioning, but I'd like to think that because I'm a little bit older, I've been approaching things with a slightly older head on my shoulders. When you're having the consultations with, be it gender GP or whoever, also do your own research into whatever's coming along there. So, for instance, one of the things that they really tried to push on me was some puberty blockers, and the idea was to really greatly reduce my testosterone. Now, I ended up having sort of chats with them about this, and obviously you've got the lines of support and so on there, so you tend to just deal with the first line of support, and then later on you end up sort of speaking to folks higher up if they can't answer things. My argument was I've already been through puberty. Those main changes and so on that the puberty blockers would do, I've gone past that point really, for whatever description. So it's a case of, right, why do I need to have puberty blockers? And it ended up coming back that it was a case of like, well, as long as things are progressing the way you want, then go down the route that's working for you. At the end of the day, everybody's biology is different. So my journey, though obviously I can hopefully help some people get an idea of what's going on and sort of hopefully help as people sort of try to make up their minds, do they want to go a certain route or not and so on. Obviously my journey is my journey and everybody's is going to be slightly different, but Having spoken to them about that, certainly when you're older, the puberty blockers, yes, they will drastically reduce testosterone, but that also means it'll do things like kill your libido and other elements like that. I didn't want that. So, following on from that, I basically stuck to my guns. And at the end of the day, things are working beautifully. Very happy with the progress. So yeah, I don't think there's a need necessary to take puberty blockers unless that's what you really want. And if that's what you really want, go down that line. But do your research. I was really lucky. Our chemist that we have at our local pharmacy is absolutely amazing bloke. He'll really go into details with things, and he ended up sort of getting hold of sort of not what the public would see about the different medications, but what the doctors and the nurses and professionals would all see. So I was able to get that little bit more information from him just by having a chat to him, explaining concerns. He ended up sort of suggesting, yeah, he didn't think it was really a good idea, and gave me all the information I needed. Said, like, you make your own decisions, but here's all the facts. So do chat to other professionals, the pharmacists, chemists as well, about different medications, and get information from them, because what you'll get is facts, and it's up to you to work out if you want to do certain things. But stick to your guns and to go the route you want to go. That's something that's really important with it. Another thing as well that I sort of made a note that I wanted to say, that obviously I'm bloody lucky. My wife supports me incredibly well. She's just been absolutely wonderful. Couldn't be more perfect in everything anyway, but she has been incredibly supportive, and I'm very lucky the fact that she is still very much attracted to me, how I am now. But I know that there are some folks who have partners that don't, or maybe struggle with things as well. But one thing that has come up, I know when she's had conversation with other partners of trans girls and trans boys as well, it goes both ways and so on, is that the partners of the trans person, we'll say, so looking at it either way, quite often get overlooked. At the end of the day, obviously, it's amazing, and thank you all so much asking me how I'm doing, how things are going on, and so on. And yeah, means the world, really does. But I will say, to all partners of trans people, how are you doing? How are you coping with it all? How are you finding it? Obviously, with some of you, it's going to be a little scary. There's going to be a few sort of worries that things could change in relationships, and for some people that will happen, some people that won't happen. For us, we've got closer still. I mean, to be fair, every year since we've been married anyway, and we're talking 10 years now, we've been gradually getting closer and closer. Not that we weren't close to start off with, but you just grow together and form together and kind of become an entity in some ways. But obviously when a big change like this happens, it can be scary for the other person. And just ask partners of trans people, like, sort of, how are you getting on? Ask any questions. Most of them, they're probably dying to talk, to be honest with you. Even whether it's a vent or whether it's a case of they're just really happy with how things are, it could be any ways, but do ask them, because so many of them kind of get ignored and left in the background. And I won't say, yeah, actually, yeah, sort of some of them sort of feels like they're being forgotten about. So yeah, definitely ask them. And I'm asking you, yeah, any of the partners of trans people, how are you doing, in all seriousness? Things are working fine? Wonderful. If you've got concerns, talk to someone. And if you have friends that's a partner of a trans person as well, just ask them. It'll just mean the world to them, just to simply asking them. But now, so in the meantime, that's kind of been it, really. Yeah, emotions get turned up high. Recently, definitely noticing more and more changes. Bottom, I think, has grown a little tiny bit. Waist is shaping a little tiny bit. Boobs, obviously. Face, we've been trying to work out. There's been changes going on with the face a little bit. Skin's softer. But yeah, emotions get turned up a little bit more than you'd expect, which also can be very good as well. Yes, it seems really weird. Something that is not something I hadn't really sort of done beforehand. It can feel really good just to release emotions, have a good cry, have a damn good laugh, just have a damn good dance and so on. Just get everything out. Yeah, an amusing thing is that we've discovered is that since transitioning, I seem to be liking heavy music a bit more. Obviously, again, I take it it's emotions coming out and everything. Oh yeah, one other thing I've noticed as well, skin. Look after your skin, folks, as well, because yeah, I've noticed that I'm now obviously in essence I'm going through another puberty, so yeah, there's a few spots and so on that sort of come a couple of little bits there. And probably as well the fact that I've been having laser hair removal, as well as electrolysis and so on. That's going to have a little bit of an effect because that's going to be quite tough on the skin. Um, the lasering for the moment I've finished. I mean, sort of on the chest, that's just worked amazingly well. On the face, I'm just going to come close to the camera. You could probably see there's a couple of sort of darker lines around there. Lasering works really well on dark hair. So if you're younger and you've got a lot less sort of white, grey hairs, that's going to work really nicely for you. Once you've got rid of the majority of the dark hairs, the lasering's not going to do quite as much. So that's when you need to get onto electrolysis, and yeah, the electrolysis is a little more uncomfortable, but that will then sort out all white and light coloured hairs. So that's a bit I'm currently now on. It's a longer process. It's a little ouchy. I won't deny that bit. But yeah, it's just crazy. What medication and science is able to do is just wow. But yeah, so anyway, I would like to say have a fantastic new year, everybody. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be seeing you around. Obviously, it's different events, Bloodstock, download, all sorts of places like that, and so on. So yeah, looking forward to this year. Let's cross fingers. It's going to be a good one for everybody. I think there's going to be a lot of hard work involved, but it's going to be fun. And that's up to us to make it fun. Right, I shall see you soon. Bye.